58 is one of my favorite passages in all of Scripture. Similar to other prophets, Isaiah critiques pious, ritualistic worship that fails to awaken people to the genuine needs of their neighbors and to the systems of injustice that oppress them. Walter Brueggemann writes, Isaiah 58 mocks worship that is preoccupied with ritual and blind to human oppression and need. Isaiah's words subvert religion no matter how passionate and busy, that ignores the ordinance of God and the social arrangements that leave people dehumanized and enslaved. I mean, Walter Brueggemann's just awesome, I think. So listen to that last part again. Isaiah's words subvert religion, no matter how passionate and busy it may be, that ignores the ordinance of God and the social arrangements that leave people dehumanized and enslaved. But the thing I love about this passage is the way that Isaiah expresses it with drama and beautiful poetry and a turn toward possibility and hope at the end. It starts off with dramatic dialogue. Why do we fast, but you do not see, O God, the people cry out? We're praying and fasting and things are still a mess. What's wrong with you, God? Oh, my people, look, God declares. Don't you see? You serve your own interest on your fast day and in your prayers. Then you go out and oppress your workers. Don't you see? You fast only to quarrel and fight and to strike with a wicked fist. Do you think this is the kind of fast that I choose, a day to humble oneself? You call this a fast, a day acceptable to the Holy One, to pray and fast, and then go out and oppress your workers. Then comes the poetry in waves in the passage. Is not this the fast that I choose, to break the chains of injustice, to undo the ropes of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, and to break every yoke of oppression? And it goes on from there. Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, to shelter those who are homeless and poor, to clothe those who are naked, to do the things that we have come to understand as essential to a life of genuine, life-giving faith? And the emphasis there for me is on life-giving. It's not about, is my faith better than yours? It's a question for all of us. Is my faith life-giving to me and to others? Brueggemann says, the presence of this God, so the poet urges, is found in the daily embrace of the neighbor. That's exactly what they were singing about. It's found in the daily embrace of the neighbor, the hungry, the poor, the naked. Then, when you live in this way, your light shall break forth like the dawn, the poet-prophet declares, and your healing shall spring up quickly. Then you shall call, and the Holy One will answer, here I am. It's just a beautiful passage of Scripture pointing us toward a kind of faith and spirituality that is both alive and life-giving. Alive and life-giving to those who are pressed down by society, of course, because it reaches toward them, but also alive and life-giving to us, to those who seek to live by faith and practice faith in the spirit of Isaiah's poetry. The call to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, even to stand with the oppressed is not unexpected in the prophetic writings, but there's something else in this passage that strikes me today. The poet continues, if you remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil, if instead you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light shall rise. And you shall be called the repairer of the breach, restorer of streets to live. And that's the part that strikes me today. Yes, feed the hungry. Yes, clothe the naked. Yes, stand with the oppressed. But the kind of spirituality that Isaiah is calling for is not just about external action. It is also about internal change and living daily, concretely, toward one another with respect, dignity, and kindness. It's the person to your left that you gotta love, right? Right? If you remove the yoke of oppression from among you, the pointing of the finger, blaming one another, the speaking of evil toward one another, then your light shall rise, and you shall be called the repairer of the breach, restorer of streets to live in. And, you know, it reminds me of the old goofy saying, you know, if you're pointing towards somebody, there are three fingers pointing back toward you. But sometimes that is said to kind of paralyze us it's not that we can't call out injustice. That's not the point. But the point is, there's a balance to that. There's a transformation that needs to happen within us. We, as Gandhi said, I believe, we have to be the change we want to see. Another great biblical prophet, Ezekiel, used similar, if less poetic language, but Ezekiel was more blunt. People of the land, he said, have oppressed the poor and the needy, and have extorted from the alien without redress. And I sought for anyone among them who would repair the wall and stand in the breach before me on behalf of the land, so that I would not destroy it. But I found no one. Annie Dillard wrote, "Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? Who shall stand in God's holy place?" There's no one but us. There's no one to send, not a clean hand, nor a pure heart in all the earth. Only us. We have grown exhausted, we say, unable to go on, too weak and too involved. But there's no one but us. There never has been. When I was a kid, my father used to read poetry to us, especially when we were sick. I used to get these terrible earaches, and my father would read poetry to me to distract me, and he would usually read these old epic poems from the 19th century. It was so long ago. It's interesting to me. It was so long ago, and he's been gone now some 18 years. But when I think of those poems, I can still hear his voice. It's one of the places I can hear him very clearly in my mind. Which is also a reminder to all of us, especially to parents, that my dad was a flawed guy in many ways, like me, and yet I got this great gift from him. I mean, the things that we do, the gifts that we offer to our children, to one another, really, really matter. We all have something to give. But anyway, one of his favorites was called Horatius at the Bridge by Thomas Babington Macaulay. I mean, great names in the 19th century. They just, I wish I were Jonathan Babington McGill, it's just so much better, so much better. So, anyway, the poem was about a mythical time in the early days of Rome, before it was an empire, when the ancient city was threatened by so-called barbarian hordes, and all the entrances to the city were shut down except one bridge over which the invaders were about to cross. Then out spake brave Horatius, the captain of the gate, "Hew down the bridge, Sir Consul, with all the speed ye may. I, with two more to help me, will hold the foe in play. In yon straight path 1,000 may well be stopped by 3. Now who will stand on either hand and keep the bridge with me?" My father loved that kind of stuff. And I guess it stuck with me because when I read Isaiah's promise again, "You shall be called the repairer of the breach," I thought of that poem. Lord knows we live in a time when our world seems riven with breaches of all kinds. There are great rifts in the sacred walls of mercy and justice, civility and kindness, neighborliness and compassion. And through those gaps, through these breaches in society, pour all kinds of evil things: racism, sexism, homophobia, religious violence, domestic violence, just plain violence, ethnic hatred, political vitriol, endless finger-pointing, a sea of anger, all leading to widespread apathy regarding the social arrangements that leave people dehumanized and enslaved. Lord knows our world needs people and churches who will dare to step into those gaps in whatever small way we can, each one of us, to stem the tide of evil that seems ready to overwhelm us at times. Lord knows we need to live in ways and practice our faith in ways that help to heal the rifts that exist within us in our own hearts, as well as between us and our neighbors. That's what Isaiah's talking about. And that healing is what Isaiah is offering us whenever we choose to be kind when others are unkind. Whenever we speak up for a neighbor and share with someone in need. Whenever we refuse to hate when others hate. Whenever we choose to forgive and stay calm in a storm of anger. Whenever anyone, anywhere, speaks or acts in a way that overcomes evil with goodness. If you remove the yoke of oppression from among you, if you stop pointing the finger, speaking evil of one another, if you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then you shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to live in. Now I hear my Father's voice. Now who will stand on either hand and keep this